Yeah, that's me. About to be thrown into the sea. Actually, it's not their fault, but then I suffered. Let me tell you how I got here.
The waves crashed like angry drums that morning. Fishermen shouted over the roar of the sea, pulling in their nets before the storm rolled in. And there he was, Edward, quiet, tense, eyes darting to the horizon as though the clouds themselves were chasing him. He wasn't like the others. While the villagers sang to the rhythm of the waves, Edward often sat alone by the docks, staring at the sea with a look that carried more questions than answers. "Edward, you joining us today?" one of the fishermen called. He shook his head quickly. "Not today. I'm waiting for something." But what he was really waiting for, or rather, running from, no one knew. That night, the wind howled louder than usual. The smell of rain mixed with salt filled the air. Edward couldn't sleep. His mind was heavy with a message he didn't want to hear, one that came like a whisper in his dreams, soft yet impossible to ignore. "Go to the great city and speak truth to them." He woke up in a cold sweat. "No," he muttered. "Not me. They won't listen. They'll laugh." The next morning, he made up his mind. He'd leave. Go far away, anywhere but there. By sunrise, he stood at the harbor, coins in hand. A ship was preparing to sail to a faraway land. Its captain, a burly man with a thick beard, eyed him curiously. "You sure you want to go?" "Storms ahead," the captain warned. Edward forced a smile. "I'll take my chances." He climbed aboard, his heart pounding with guilt and relief all at once. As the ship pulled away, he looked back at the shrinking shoreline, his village, his friends, everything familiar. He whispered to himself, "Maybe now, I can finally escape this." But deep beneath the rolling waters, something ancient stirred. The wind began to shift. The clouds grew darker. The sea, once calm, started to rage. And as the first drops of rain fell, Edward realized one thing. You can run from people, from duty, even from yourself, but not from destiny. The sea ripped and groaned as if angry at something it could not name. Winds howled across the deck of the merchant ship. Sailors shouted over the roar, securing sails and calling to one another. Edward stood among them, pale and small against the storm's fury, the guilt of a hidden secret heavier than any wave. When the captain cast lots to find the cause of their doom, the lot fell to Edward. He could no longer hide. In a quiet, broken voice, he confessed the truth. He had run from a command to go to Nereth and speak a warning. For a moment, the sailors stared at him. Then, fearing for their lives, they did the one thing they believed might still save them. They took Edward and cast him into the roaring sea. Cold swallowed him. Water closed over his head. He felt the ship's lights grow distant until only black remained. Panic and regret raced through him until, absurdly, the sea suddenly became hollow and calm. Something vast and ancient moved beneath him. In a single impossible instant, Edward was swallowed, not killed, but carried inside the belly of a great fish. Time lost its shape. Inside that strange, breathing dark, he tumbled through hours and questions. The smell was awful, the silence enormous. And in the heart of that living prison, the messenger did the only thing that made sense. He prayed. Not elegant prayers learned in the market, but raw, honest words, a confession, an apology, a plea for second chances. For 3 days and 3 nights, Edward sat in that dark place and wrestled with his fear and his stubbornness. He remembered his village, his friends, the faces of those he'd fled. He saw the people of Nereth not as an enemy crowd, but as souls with names and stories. Somewhere inside him, resolve grew. Then the great fish heaved. A surge of sea filled its bowels, and with an abrupt, shuddering motion, Edward was cast up onto the shore, coughing, drenched, and alive. The beach looked like the edge of the world, salt-stung air, gulls circling as if nothing had happened, and the faint outline of the road to Nerith winding inland. This time Edward did not run. He walked the road, waterlogged clothes clinging to him, heart steady. When he reached the great city, he did not speak with clever words or threats. He spoke with the same plainness he used when fixing nets. Change your ways. Turn from what hurts others. Turn back to what is right. To his surprise, and to the surprise of the scribes and nobles, the people listened. They humbled themselves, fasted, and turned from their harmful ways. The city's leaders covered themselves in sackcloth and showed real repentance. And when they did, the great power that had threatened them, the very reason Edward was sent, began to lift. The danger passed. The city was spared. Edward stood at the city gate and felt something complicated in his chest. Relief, wonder, and then a small, uncomfortable ember of resentment. He had run. He had been forced, and yet it had worked. He had been the instrument, awkward and unwilling, of a mercy he scarcely believed he deserved. So the story closed on Edward walking back toward the sea, a different man than the one who had fled. He had learned the cost of running and the strange grace of being used despite himself. And as for the people of Nerith, their lives changed because someone eventually chose obedience over fear.
Have you ever tried to run from something you knew you were meant to do? Maybe it wasn't crossing an ocean. Maybe it was just returning a call, forgiving someone, giving something that the Lord has requested of you, or maybe it's stepping into a dream that scared you. Like Edward, we sometimes think distance will silence conviction. We throw ourselves into busyness, distractions, anything to drown out that quiet voice inside. But purpose has a way of finding us, even in the middle of the storm. Perhaps your storm looks like anxiety, constant frustration, or feeling stuck. Sometimes it isn't punishment. It's a wake-up call. A reminder that peace doesn't come from running. It comes from aligning. When Edward finally stopped running and obeyed, the world around him changed. The chaos in his life stopped and then peace came. And maybe that's what's waiting for you too. A breakthrough on the other side of obedience. So, what's your Nerith? What's that one thing you've been avoiding? Maybe it's time to stop running.
Hey there, Kingdom Seekers. Think you know who our mystery character is? Drop your guess in the comments below, and here's the fun part. In our next video, we'll be reviewing about 25 of your comments. Yes, yours might be one of them. Whether you're right, close, or hilariously off, we'll read them out loud and react to your guesses together. So go ahead, make your guess, have fun with it, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss when your comment shows up.